last week on this show, Joe Madison was on just as he was about to get arrested in front of the Ugandan embassy in New York City. And I wanted to follow up on that and find out, what's going on. We have all this sturm and drang about Crimea and Ukraine and whatnot. And to the best of my knowledge, maybe one or two people have died there. But there are people dying literally every day in South Sudan as a consequence of a war that we may actually be able to have some positive influence over, or at least we can stop other countries associated with us from having a negative influence over. And Joe, God bless him, has been pointing that out. Joe Madison, host of the Joe Madison Show on Sirius XM weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. on channel 110. For those of you who listen on Sirius XM, be sure to check it out. His Twitter, at Black Eagle Power. The website, of course, joemadison.com. Joe, welcome back.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Tom.
So, Joe, give me an update. First of all, for people who might not have caught it on Thursday or Friday, what happened, and then an update on what's happened since then.
Well, on Thursday, a group of South Sudanese wanted to get as much attention as possible about the atrocities that are taking place in this new country, South Sudan, which is the newest country on the continent of Africa. Actually, it's the newest country on the planet. I actually attended the flag-raising ceremony when literally scores of countries, including the United Nations, promised and pledged whatever support it would take to make this country work, financial support, you name it. But what has happened is there has been a power struggle between the current president, Kiir, who was up for re-election, and then a rebel group of a different ethnic group challenged that election, and all hell broke loose. And what I mean by that is that, as you know, the Dinkas are the majority ethnic group. The other group felt that the elections were unfair. There was a power struggle that pursued, and literally neighbors began killing each other, began going through villages, and in Juba, where you've been, it's for all practical purposes, an urban area. They were going door to door, extracting women and children and family members from their homes. As it stands today, there have been over 10,000 people killed in South Sudan, and there are 2 million people that, in fact, are without homes. They're out in the bush of South Sudan. Wow. And the argument was that there's been very little attention. And so I joined with Simon Dang, who we went to South Sudan with. He has had, if I'm not mistaken, 8, maybe 10 of his family members that have been killed in the Upper Nile. Mm-hmm. And he just wanted the administration and the United Nations and other countries to start paying attention to this. The United States probably has more influence than any other country in terms of its financial support, in terms of being able to put pressure on the rebel group and the current president and his military. So what we did was to go to the Ugandan mission, which shares where the South Sudan government shares office space, and we submitted ourselves for arrest. We, in essence, were arrested for trespassing, and we were taken into custody last Thursday in New York City. Now, what has happened, Tom, since then, actually before our arrest, I notified the Obama administration that I was going to be arrested, that I was in South Sudan along with Susan Rice, who at that time was with the administration in a different capacity at the United Nations. Pledges were made, and that something needs to be done. It makes no sense with all the attention paid to the Ukraine, and I'm not saying that that's not important, but when you have 2 million people that are now refugees on the verge of, and this is not hyperbole, on the verge of starvation.
Yeah, you and I have been in that bush. It's not.
We've been. That's absolutely right.
It's like the Nevada desert.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. And people going door to door, killing, people who are of different ethnic groups. The United States has an obligation. So the administration, President Obama, I believe it was 2 days before the arrest, issued a statement, signed an executive order threatening both sides with economic sanctions if they don't come together and resolve this conflict. But we went ahead with the arrest. My position with the Obama administration was, threats we understand, but it's now time to go beyond threats and take action. And that's exactly why we continued with the demonstration and the eventual arrest.
Did I read that the guy who's leading the rebel group, and it's interesting, you and I met Salva Kiir, the president of South Sudan. He was the leader of the rebel group against Sudan, when they split off.
Absolutely. He took John Garang's place, who had died, some people say mysteriously, after he had been elected president.
Right.
And Salva Kiir became the leader of the
and is the head of the rebels against Salva Kiir was he the vice president of the country or something?
Yes, that's absolutely right. He was the vice president of the country. Absolutely.
So this is almost like when Jefferson went against Adams back in the 1790s.
Except Jefferson and Adams didn't go to war.
Yeah, well, they damn near did, but yeah,
these guys went. You're right. It's politically, it's the same thing. You're absolutely correct. Except Jefferson and Adams didn't go to war. These guys went to war, and the danger is, unlike the struggle that went on for 25 years between the Sudanese, which were primarily housed in Khartoum in the north, they had to travel great distances to fight this war that went on for 25 years.
And they eventually lost.
And they lost. These individuals live next door to each other.
Right. To what extent are these?
They're neighbors.
Yeah.
They in essence share the same space, which makes it even more
problematic.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Right.
Joe, we have just a minute left before we hit a hard break here. But to what extent is this a tribal conflict, and have these tribes intermarried, and is that kind of it's like the situation on the east side of Ukraine kind of thing?
Well, I'm not certain if all this intermarriage takes place. I suspect that it happens. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it, because people, again, are very close.
Sure.
They were allies. They fought for 25 years together. This seems to be, in all honesty, Tom, a power struggle between, for I guess the best metaphor I could come, two lions.
Yeah.
Two men who want control. One, Salva Kiir, who wants to maintain control at all costs, and then the vice president, who has a rebel group who wants to wrestle control.
And we need to step in and say enough already.
Oh, that's absolutely right.
Joe Madison, you can read all about it over at joemadison.com. Hang on just a second, Joe.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Joe, thank you so much for being with us. Keep up the good work.
Anytime. I appreciate you doing this.